Film Festival Radio, Saturday afternoons at 3 on KSHP, North Las Vegas, AM and FM, 829 6HP, North Las Vegas, and KSHP.com.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
It's time for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
Well, what's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday, Pushing the Limits. Thank you so much for joining us, making us part of your afternoon, your midday lunch, whatever you'd like to call it. And today we got some very interesting guests, to say the least. We're going to have some fun. We always have good guests on this show, and today is certainly no exception to that. And we have a lot of sports to talk about, too. I went and I watched the Laker game last night, had a chance to ask LeBron James some questions, and it turns out my question being used on SportsCenter and Bleacher Report. Can you believe that, among other places? So we'll play that for you. The Vegas Golden Knights open up the season today. What is not going on in Vegas? WNBA Finals, Game 2 tomorrow. And the Raiders getting a W. How about that? The Raiders getting a win against the Green Bay Packers. So a lot of sports to talk about, a lot to get into. Let me just give you a rundown on the guest we have today, because they're very interesting. Now, of course, we had household name Anthony Scaramucci on the show yesterday, and if you missed that interview, I put it up on my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. If you want to check that out, the Mooch was awesome. But today we have different kinds of guests. So have you seen these videos on social media? I find some of them extremely entertaining. What are these videos? Well, Audit the Auditor, where some of these videographers, you call them videographers, First Amendment advocates, whatever you'd like to call them. Some of them will go into public property. They'll go into a DMV. Some of them will go on other government buildings, you name it, and they'll start videoing. And then officers tell them to leave when the laws are actually, you're allowed to film in public. And then there are other videographers that film police. They film police doing their job. It could be, a DUI pullover. It could be anything. And most people don't like to be recorded, including police officers. They don't like it. But not liking something doesn't necessarily mean it's against the law. Well, there's a guy that has a very large social media platform. He's been doing this for years. His name is Christopher Ruff. You can Google him. He goes by the name Direct D on social media, has a very large following on social media. And I just discovered some of his videos. Some would call him a controversial figure. We're going to get into that with him. He's going to be joining us at the bottom of the hour. Now there's a warrant out for his arrest, and some people would say police have put a target on his back because he videos police officers, which he's allowed to do. It's a very interesting situation, and I want to get his take on it. He's nice enough to join us at the bottom of the hour. The second guest we have in hour number 2. This man has been in studio before. He's done drag queen reading for kids. Goes by the name Sister Aura when he dresses in drag. He is an openly gay man who's married. And he was accosted by some people on the far right. And it got physical and there was an arrest. This happened in Las Vegas a few weeks ago. And one of the people involved is somebody that I have not really seen eye to eye with or gotten along with. Her name is Mindy Robinson. She's in the video. So the video kind of went viral. And I said, I want this guy coming in studio to tell his side. I would offer Mindy Robinson the opportunity to come on as well, but she blocked me on social media, so I really can't do that. I don't have her number. She's welcome to come on if she likes. But Miles Lynk is his name. He's going to be joining us in studio in hour number 2 to talk about that. The attacks on the LGBT community, transgenders, the attacks on drag queen reading. I'm really getting tired of it. You know what else I'm getting tired of? People who want to side with Hamas. I'm tired of that as well. It's very frustrating. And sometimes I could have intellectual, reasonable conversations with people. I've had a few today, and the conversations went very well. And I try to explain to people what Hamas is. But then there are people that just won't listen, right? There are people that will blame Joe Biden for what took place. There are idiots on social media that think Israel should not be able to defend themselves. Let me explain to you what this group has done and what will continue to do. They beheaded babies. I'm sorry if I'm being graphic, but I need to be honest. That's what this Hamas group did. They found 40 dead babies, some of whom were beheaded. What side are you on here? That is what Hamas is. This isn't about land. This isn't about Palestine. This is about a hate group. After Al-Qaeda attacked us on 9/11, if somebody asked you which side are you on, would you say, well, I'm not really taking any side? No, of course not. You'd say you take the side of America, even though we're not perfect here, because Al-Qaeda is a terrorist organization, and they wanted to kill as many innocent Americans as possible. And sadly, one is too many. Thousands. Same thing with Hamas. Same thing. They hate Israel's way of life. They hate our way of life. And mark my words, if they had the opportunity to kill a bunch of Americans, they would do the exact same thing. They are a terrorist group. They are a hate group. Now, if you want to have a conversation about Palestine and the Israeli-Palestine conflict, that's a different conversation. That's not what this is about. This is about a terrorist group that wants to kill as many Jewish people as possible. That's what this is about. Make no mistake about it. And sadly, there are people on the extreme left that disagree with that. Most Republicans side with me on this and they are pro-Israel. I give them credit for that. I say most, not all. But this situation is not getting any better. Israel has a right to defend themselves. They are. But my question is, how did this happen? How did Israel, with their defense mechanisms and everything that they have and their capabilities, allow this to happen? It is a huge failure on their part. They did not protect their citizens. And the stories continue to come in. Families in their homes being ripped apart, executed in front of their children. I don't even want to go into some of the stories I've heard because they're so emotional and they're so difficult to talk about. But Israel has a right to defend themselves. They are defending themselves, and they will continue to defend themselves. And we need to all support that. Now, if you're one of those people, after a bunch of innocent Israelis were murdered, and you're raising your flag pro-Palestine, then you're also pro-Hamas. Make no mistake about it. If you're pro-Palestine, go ahead and march and peacefully protest, but why would you do it hours after Hamas decided to execute a bunch of innocent Israelis? More innocent people are going to die. I wish that wasn't the case. But Israel, I'll say it again, Israel has a right to defend themselves. And anybody who says to the contrary, that there should be some sort of ceasefire or Israel shouldn't be able to respond, you're ignorant. That's like saying we shouldn't have responded after 9/11. You're ignorant. You're damn right Israel has the right to respond, and they will, and they are. I'm just so sick of the stupidity of people in this country and around the world. You want to blame Joe Biden for this? You think Joe Biden wanted this to happen? Listen, I wish Joe Biden didn't give $6 million to Iran, but we did get 5 American prisoners home. Sometimes you have to do that to get people home. If you disagree with that, fine. But I want those prisoners to come home. If you want to make the argument that Biden shouldn't have released the $6 billion, fine. I think that's a fair conversation to have. But make no mistake about it, that is not why this attack happened. Hamas is funded by the Iranian government. But the Iranian government did not use that $6 billion for this, and we know that for a fact. Now, if you want to talk about what they should or shouldn't have done, that's another conversation. We need to support Israel. We need to back Israel. And if people out there do not want to back Israel and think that Israel should just sit back and just let people infiltrate their country, their state of Israel and just massacre people, I disagree with you, and you're wrong. So we'll have to wait and see how this happened. I believe Joe Biden today had some more remarks in regards to the attacks in Israel. And here's what the President of the United States had to say.
There's no justification for terrorism. There's no excuse. Hamas does not stand for the Palestinian people's right to dignity and self-determination. Its stated purpose is the annihilation of the state of Israel and the murder of Jewish people. They use Palestinian civilians as human shields. Hamas offers nothing but terror and bloodshed with no regard to who pays the price. There's no...
What more do you want than that? What the President of the United States said is correct. Hamas has used Palestinian civilians as human shields. This is not about land and the conflict between Palestine and Israel. This is about an evil, murderous terrorist group called Hamas that has no regard for human life, could be Israelis or Palestinians. So when you go out there today, and if you're thinking of protesting on behalf of the Palestinian people, remember what Hamas did. Because what Palestinians should do and what Israelis should do, if they have anything in common, what they should do is they should all protest Hamas, a terrorist organization group, and the President of the United States is 150% correct. All right, we have a lot of other stuff to get to today. A reminder, programming note, Rabbi Yavitz Vine will be joining us in studio tomorrow. We'll be talking in depth about this situation in Israel. He spends a lot of time in Israel. I have a lot of respect for the rabbi, so he's going to be joining us in studio tomorrow, and we are going to continue the conversation. It's always difficult to make a transition over from war and then to sports, but in this aspect, I guess I'll do my best, and I'll try to do that because we're really not going to have a lot of time later on in the show to do it. There's a lot of sports to talk about. Let me just briefly mention this. Last night, the Raiders, let me get this out of the way first. Important win for the Raiders. I think that's an understatement when you're 1-3 and you're facing a 2-2 team in the Packers. Packers are not a really good football team. Their offense looks just as bad as the Raiders. But Josh Jacobs was phenomenal yesterday. Josh Jacobs came up with big plays when his team needed it the most because Garoppolo was terrible. I'm sorry, Garoppolo was bad. Garoppolo's not the reason why they won that game. They won the game because the defense was able to stop the Packers when they needed to. Max Crosby had another phenomenal game. The run game, Josh Jacobs was phenomenal. He is a star. He is a superstar. He is a stud. And so many big plays to get first downs for Josh Jacobs. Again, Garoppolo was not very good. As I said at the beginning of the year, and I'm going to say it again now, the Raiders are not a good football team. They're going to lose to the top echelon teams in the league. They're going to struggle, and they'll have opportunities to beat average, mediocre 500 teams. That's exactly what the Green Bay Packers are. And the Raiders will beat the really bad teams, right? They beat the Denver Broncos barely. They'll probably beat the Chicago Bears. I expect them to beat the New England Patriots, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. The Raiders are an average to below average football team. And under Josh McDaniels, that is exactly what you're going to get. Sorry, Raider Nation. It's a nice win yesterday. A desperate win. They needed it, and maybe they can win 3 or 4 games in a row now. Maybe salvage Josh McDaniels to stick around for year 3. I don't know. But did you see anything in that game yesterday where you say to yourself, wow, they've really turned things around? Wow. What great play calling by Josh McDaniels. Wow. Garoppolo looks like a Super Bowl QB. Absolutely not. They barely won the football game. They won, and they won because, the defense stepped up. Max Crosby had a great game. And like I said, when they needed first downs, Josh Jacobs was able to get them first downs and move the sticks. That's why they won yesterday. Had nothing to do with the coaching staff. Sorry, I'm not a Josh McDaniels guy. The Raiders are not a good football team. I don't know what else to say. Nice win. They could win 3 or 4 in a row. They're playing a couple really bad teams in the New England Patriots and the Chicago Bears. I expect they win both of those games. They absolutely should win both of those games, but don't give any credit to Josh McDaniels because he didn't do anything yesterday. That's my opinion on that. Had an opportunity yesterday to watch the Laker game. It was over at T-Mobile Arena as they played the Brooklyn Nets. Pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. I wish we had an NBA franchise here, but it was fun to see Anthony Davis and LeBron James play some pretty big minutes in the first half. They played most of the first half, so that was a lot of fun to watch LeBron in action, to watch Anthony Davis out there. Hachimura is incredible. What a great addition to the Lakers he was last year. And I got to tell you this right now. I think Darvin Ham's a good coach, and the Lakers are a playoff team as long as they're healthy. Am I saying they're going to beat the Phoenix Suns or the Golden State Warriors or the Denver Nuggets? That's going to be difficult. But you know what? They'll have a chance, I think. I think they're going to match up against one of those teams in the playoffs. They're a playoff team, and as long as they're healthy, they're in the mix. And I think that's what the NBA wants. That's what Laker Nation wants. This is a much improved team from last year. I think they're going to be much better defensively so long as they're healthy, and I think it's going to be fun. So anyway, it's only a preseason game, right? But after the game, Lakers staff, they're fantastic, by the way. They're the way you should run an organization from a standpoint of a communications department. I have some issues with some organizations here, but the Lakers do it the right way. They're very nice people. And how cool was it in the press conference? You know, usually you go into the locker room and maybe you're lucky if you get a couple people, but they were nice enough to bring LeBron James and Anthony Davis into the press room, which was awesome. And there was only like 10 members of the media in there. So we had the opportunity to fire off questions. So for me, being a member of the Las Vegas media, I wanted to ask LeBron James a Vegas-friendly question. Little did I know that the question that I asked him would be leading on SportsCenter this morning, which is kind of wild, and it's been all over social media. And really, it was just a very simple question. I asked him about Las Vegas, and it literally this, and the reason why, and have a listen to LeBron's answer. The reason why I think this made national attention, LeBron's answer, is because he's talking about how young Anthony Davis was. And he makes a joke, were you in third grade when LeBron started playing basketball in Vegas? Because that's the question I asked. So have a listen to this, and then we'll talk about it.
Last question, LeBron, can you just reflect? I mean, playing with Kobe Bryant and the FIBAs, that was in Vegas. You've had some really special moments here in Las Vegas. What are some of your fondest memories during your entire career playing here in Las Vegas?
Just, yeah, I've been here for quite a long time playing ball. Probably since I think since 05. They're great. Always and now. So a lot of great memories here, especially with the USA Olympic national team. And from that, I didn't get an opportunity to play summer league here. My summer league was in Orlando and in Boston, but I'm pretty much come here every year since I've been in the NBA. Supporting the summer league, being a part of that, being a part of USA basketball. So Vegas has always treated myself, my teammates, might have been in red, white, and blue, or us now with purple and gold. A lot of respect and a lot of love. So it's always good for us to be able to come back every year in the preseason since I've been here, and give back to the fans because they're very special to us.
All right, so how cool is that? So about 20 minutes after I asked that question, Bleacher Report led with it on their social media account, and they have like 1.5 million followers, so that was kind of cool. And then I'm getting text messages from people this morning saying, hey, your question, they led with it on SportsCenter. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. And LeBron gave me a really good answer. And I think the entertaining part of his answer was when Anthony Davis was kind of giving him some crap and he started laughing. And then LeBron looks over to him, if you heard it. I know the audio was kind of low there, but LeBron's like, what were you in third grade when I started playing here in 2005? It's a really funny soundbite. So that was really cool. It's not every day you get to ask LeBron James questions. So that was a lot of fun. As far as where I think the Lakers are going to go this year, well, they're much improved. I got to tell you, they're much improved. Their general manager has done a really good job in some additions. And I think Gabe Vincent is going to be a huge addition to this team. He helped Miami get to the NBA Finals last year. So I think that's a big deal, getting a guy like a Gabe Vincent. And listen, they have some other additions that I think are really going to help the team. But the key here is that LeBron and Anthony Davis are both healthy. Because if those two are healthy, I see the way LeBron is shooting the ball. I think he's shooting the ball better than he ever has in his career. His jump shot looks really, really good. Anthony Davis looked good in the minutes he played yesterday. He's healthy. As I mentioned, I love Archibara. I love him. I love that addition to Lakers last year. And I think the Lakers are going to be okay. And what I mean by okay is they're a playoff team and let the chips fall where they may. But, when you got LeBron and Anthony Davis on your team, I think you always have a chance. And now they got the help they need. They got some better shooters. Gabe Vincent adds to that. And I think the Lakers are going to be all right. They're going to be in the mix. Am I saying they're going to win the championship next year? Probably not. But I certainly think they'll have a chance. I think there are several teams that are better. I still think the Denver Nuggets are better. You could make the argument that the Golden State Warriors are better. And you could make the argument that the Phoenix Suns are better. But I think the Lakers are right there in one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the Western Conference. So we'll see what happens, and I'm really excited. I'm also excited about the Vegas Golden Knights opening up the season tonight, getting the championship banner up there, getting the rings and all that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun tonight. Listen, say what you want about the Vegas Golden Knights. What they've accomplished here in 6 years is second to none. It's really mesmerizing, and it's unbelievable. Do I think they've made a few mistakes here and there? Sure. But who am I to criticize a team that's gotten to the Stanley Cup finals twice, won a Stanley Cup? I mean, it's hard to criticize that. Yeah, I didn't like it with Gallant left, but boy, Cassidy's a hell of a coach. I think they got a pretty darn good coach in Cassidy. I didn't like the way Marc-Andre Fleury was dealt away, but I think they got some pretty damn good netminders right now. It's worked out okay for the Vegas Golden Knights, and I have no reason to believe that they will not contend this year. No reason at all to believe that. You know, a guy comes to my mind, you really want Mark Stone to stay healthy. He's prone to injury. He's getting up there in age. You want him to stay healthy. But boy, Eichel's in the prime of his career. You still got the Misfits, members of the Misfits still on this team. You still have the core here. They're certainly not any worse, in my opinion, than they were last year. That's for sure. And, you know, you got to get lucky. You know, the bounces have to go your way at the right time. And for the Knights last year, it did. And sometimes you also have to create your own luck. It's going to be a sold-out crowd tonight. It's going to be a packed house. It's going to be a lot of fun. Get to celebrate the Vegas Golden Knights with the championship banner and the rings, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be really, really cool. I think we might be able to sneak in a few quick phone calls here before we take a break for our next guest. The number 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, area code 702-221-7283 if you'd like to be a part of the program. We've certainly covered a lot, including how my question led SportsCenter this morning. I'm very proud about that. I have to pat myself on the back on that one. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Might be the only time that we're taking calls, but we'll have to wait and see how it goes. Anyway, let's start off with Edward. Edward, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, Brian? How you doing today, man?
Doing all right, Edward. How are you? What's on your mind, my friend?
Just nothing much, man. Just another day above ground. Want to call into the show, say what's up. I know you got a few hot topics going on. You know, it's like 1 minute it's Ukraine, 1 minute it's Israel. It's like, it's a back and forth struggle, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it is. And I think there are some people out there that, and I'm one of them, that thinks that maybe Vladimir Putin might have had something to do with this to take the ball off of Ukraine. I don't know if that's true or not. But I know that it's a tragedy, and it's going to continue to be tragic, and innocent people are going to continue to die. But I support Israel, and they were the ones that were attacked by Hamas, and they have a right to defend themselves.
Yeah, and I was thinking about last week when I called in, we had talked about, you had brought up some questions like, if we kill so and so, does it solve anything? Like, you know, like you had asked me like about certain people, like was it good to kill Osama bin Laden or kill other people? And I was thinking, you know, if we kill people, it's like a snake. It's like once you cut the tail, another one grows back.
Yeah, I understand that, but at the same time, I don't think Israel could just put their hands in the air and say, "Oh well, we let's just sit tight." You can't do that either. Unfortunately, this is war, and unfortunately, in war, innocent people die, and you get a lot of casualties. But let's keep in mind who started this. It wasn't Israel that started this; it was Hamas, a terrorist organization that wanted this to happen. They behead babies. They have no, respect for human life, and they're a terrorist group, and it was partly funded by the Iranian government. And there are people in Palestine that are complicit. They are complicit with this. Palestine should be just as against Hamas as Israel is, but they're not. There are a lot of people in Palestine that don't seem to call out Hamas, and I have a problem with that.
And when we look at these wars, we need to follow the money. Where does the money trail come from? Because to support this stuff, you have to have the buck.
Well, the Iranian government is certainly has played a role. There are multiple entities of why Hamas has been funded, and I'm not going to blame Joe Biden for that. I wish he didn't give the Iranian government any money at all. But the bottom line here is the people that are responsible for this are a terrorist organization called Hamas. They're number one, and the Iranian government seems to support Hamas. Ed, I got to get up. I'm on a break, my friend. I got to take a break, but always good to hear from my friend. Have a good Tuesday, okay?
All right, man. Y'all take it easy.
All right, take it easy, Edward. This is a conversation that will continue tomorrow. We have a local rabbi that's going to be joining us in studio to talk about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and also talk about, obviously, the situation in Israel and Hamas. So Rabbi Yavitz Wein will be joining us in studio tomorrow to talk a little bit about that and kind of pick his brain on this issue. But here's what we're going to do right now, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, his name is Christopher Ruff. He's known as Direct D. He is a videographer who has been videoing police for years. He has a huge social media following, and his YouTube page is very entertaining. I'll be the first one to admit that, and I'll be honest. Well, now there's a warrant out for his arrest, and he claims that police have put a target on his back, so I want to get his side of this. We'll talk to him when we come back. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Greenview Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits here. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at the Postal Annex. They have a notary signing agent on site daily, no appointment needed, and they offer a full scale of printing services from shipping labels to documents, business cards, banners, photos, and business signage. They're your passport service headquarters. They offer passport photos, and they can renew your adult passports. If you're traveling in a hurry, they can get those passports to you within 7 days or less. Mailbox rentals with a physical street address, and they also receive your packages from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and more. Here's the best part. If you're a Pushing the Limits listener, they have an introductory rate of only $39 for a 3-month service. You can't beat it. Give them a call, 702-873-8005. Check them out at 6130 West Flamingo Road. It's the Postal Annex. Tell them I sent you.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams and treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. So I'm on YouTube a lot, not only putting stuff up on my YouTube page and continuing to grow the channel, but I watch a lot of other videos. It could be news, entertainment, you name it. And I watch these audit videos. If you watch these audit the auditor, people all do, they take their camera and they don't break the law. At least most of them don't. And they video different things. And then, sometimes people don't like to be videoed, but your feelings don't, get in the way of what the actual law is, right? There's all sorts of different people that do stuff like that. And I, as a whole, I have no problem with that. It's your First Amendment right to do that. One of the guys that does this, his name is Christopher Ruff, also known as Direct D. He has a large following on his social media page on YouTube. He is a videographer, and he videos police officers in action doing their job, doing their work. In fact, sometimes he just videos them when they're pulling him over, for example. And now, he claims there's a target on his back from law enforcement for what he's done. And Christopher Ruff joins us right now on the show. Christopher, I do appreciate you being here. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing good, Christopher. Do I call you Direct D or Christopher? What do you prefer, by the way?
Chris.
All right, Chris. Sounds good, my man. All right, take me back to the beginning. When did you first get the idea that you wanted to video police officers, and why did you decide to do it?
Well, it started in Arizona, in Cottonwood, Arizona, with an incident that had nothing to do with recording the police. I was New Year's Day, 2020 or 2021, I'm not sure. And I was sitting in a parking lot in a trailer park because you're in the guest parking because you're not allowed to park on the street.
Right.
And it was 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm drinking coffee, watching these kinds of videos on Facebook, and smoking cigarettes, waiting for the household to wake up so I could go in and start, being active in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Stayed out there for about half an hour, and then a maintenance guy comes over, knocks on my window, and immediately, "What are you doing here? Well, why are you parked here?" And then starts questioning me. "Where do you live? Who do you know here?" And just his attitude put me off. So I don't want to talk to him. I said, "Don't worry about it. It's none of your business." "Well, I'm calling the police." And I told him, "Handle that." And I rolled my window up, got out of my car, locked it, waited on the hood of the car, and then 2 police officers showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one showed up first, and then his supervisor showed up later.
Right.
During the interaction with the first officer, he immediately started demanding my ID, wanting to know who I am, why I'm there. And then he tried to grab me and put me into handcuffs. And, I backed
Chris,
away.
you're on public property, right? You're on
No,
private property or public?
private property.
Okay, so you're on private property. Okay.
I mean, I was legitimately there. I wasn't just hanging out in the trailer park.
And this is your house, or this is your place, or you have friends?
It was my girlfriend's mom's retirement home.
Got you. Okay.
So they're kind of restrictive about where you can park and stuff. That's why I was
Sure.
in guest parking. But this cop, immediately aggressive, not like yelling and screaming and cussing, just like passive, but like physically, like he kept wanting to grab me and telling me that I was going to be detained and under arrest if I didn't give him my ID.
Did you tell him from the beginning why you were there?
I told him I'm a guest of a resident here and I'm just hanging out in the parking lot because I can't park in the street. And he didn't want to hear any of that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but at that time, after you give him that information, all he has to do is ring the doorbell or ask the residents if that's the case. And then that's it.
But I didn't tell him. I didn't tell him where.
Okay.
I don't want to tell him where because everybody's sleeping. He wants to go knock on the door and it's none of his business. I wasn't breaking any laws. It was just a maintenance man that didn't like the way I responded to him.
Gotcha. Okay. And then what happens after that?
Well, the supervisor comes and during my talk with the supervisor, he runs the plate and figures out where the trailer is. And the first officer goes over to the trailer and I can hear him banging on the door. So I tell the supervisor, "All right, I'm not detained. I'm out of here." And I walk away. And the video that I recorded ends right there. But what you don't see, and the reason behind my channel, is when I got to the trailer, this officer was writing something down and then was walking away back towards me, back towards his cruiser, and smiling. And I kind of looked at him, and then I looked at my girl who was the one that was talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Did you tell him who I am?" And he said, "If I didn't tell him, he was going to arrest you." So he used some psychological manipulation crap on my girl. Like, "I'm going to arrest your boyfriend if you don't tell me who he is."
Wow.
And she didn't know her rights. She didn't know if that was true.
Right.
She didn't know anything. And I got pissed at her. I got really mad.
Yeah.
And it was momentary because while I was angry, I started to realize that it's not her. Ignorance really isn't her fault. I mean, if nobody's ever told her, she's never educated herself, then how can I be mad at her? So it just, the emotional like roller coaster inside of me, that's what triggered the channel, because I told her, we're never going to experience something like this again. I am going to personally go out and show you exactly how you have rights and exactly what you can do with them.
That's interesting. And that's what started your YouTube channel from there. That's really interesting. I didn't know that. So if somebody says to you, "Why are you recording police? Why don't you just let them do their job? Why don't you leave them alone?" What would be your response to that?
I mean, now I would just laugh at them. I mean, there really is no response. It's just another ignorant situation, just like my girl. I mean, sometimes people are aggressive. So when they're, why are you being, and they'll cuss at you and stuff. And that's when
Right,
I'm
right.
just not nice about it. I don't feel like explaining anything because
Sure.
you're not coming from a wanting
Right.
to know standpoint. You're just,
Isn't it amazing though, Chris? Because, listen, I'll be honest with you. If I'm stopped at a DUI checkpoint, I have no problem with police officers asking me questions because I got nothing to hide, right? So if they want, have you been drinking, sir? No. Thank you for what you're doing, officer. And I move on. But officers on the other side of things need to understand that if there's no reasonable suspicion, right, Chris, you talk about this all the time, reasonable and articulable suspicion that you have committed a crime. Number one, they can ask you for ID, but you don't have to give it to them. That's not against the law. And I just feel like there's so many people out there, right, Chris, that don't understand their rights.
right. I mean, and that's part of the reason why we encourage people to exercise their rights. Like you say, I'm not doing anything wrong. Why wouldn't I just tell them I'm not drinking? It's because when you comply so easily, just because you're not doing anything wrong, you make it more difficult for the next guy that really doesn't want to have a conversation with him. He just tells him, I'm not, or just doesn't talk to him at the DUI stop, keeps his window rolled up, doesn't say anything to him, and just sits there. Because they can't do anything. Technically, they're not even supposed to be stopping you while you're traveling. That's a detainment.
Yeah. I've learned from your page and I've learned from other pages things that I didn't know. For example, if a cop pulls you over for a traffic stop, you don't have to pull your window all the way down. You just have to pull it down enough so that you can hear each other and you can give them paperwork. I never knew that. I never knew that you didn't have to show ID unless there's reasonable and articulable suspicion that you committed a crime. So I've learned from your page and other pages. Let me ask you this, though, because everybody has a different style, right? And I'm not saying you don't have the right to, for example, swear at a cop or flip off a cop or call them a pig. I'm not saying that's against the law because I know it's not, Chris, and I know it's your right. But what would you say to a police officer that would say to you, listen, we don't mind you recording us, but why do you have to disrespect us? And why do you have to swear at us and call us pigs? What would you say to them?
Well, for me personally, I don't just initially start out like that. I mean, I don't hate police officers. I've been saying that, and that's just I wanted to be a police officer when I was younger. I don't hate the police officers. It's just the guys that immediately start telling you, I don't mind if you film or go stand over there. That's like me telling you, I don't mind that you're wearing a blue shirt right now, but could you change? Could you put a white one on because I'm asking you to? I mean, I don't mind if you stand there, but could you go back up over there? That's like you coming into McDonald's and you getting right next to me. I'm like, hey man, I don't mind that you're here at McDonald's with me, but can you take 10 steps
They make
back?
it like they're doing you a favor. And I'm on your side there. I agree with you. What's the law, by the way?
That's immediately insulting.
I agree with you.
That's when they get the attitude.
I agree with you. I'm on your side there 100%. What's the law there? Like you have to be like 5 feet away from an
There is no
officer,
law.
like so like, because obviously if an officer is trying to make an arrest, you don't want to put your camera in his face, right? Like what are the laws there? Because I don't know, like what.
So there is no nationwide law. Every state, not every state, some states have created their own laws. Like Indiana has a 25-foot law. Arizona had an 8-foot law. Arizona shut it down. Indiana's in the process of it getting shut down, but they're attempting to create laws right now to keep us back because there technically is no distance. I mean, the Supreme Court, the only ruling the Supreme Court has made is that we are allowed to be close enough for audio and visual.
Right.
They haven't set a distance, just as long as you can pick up audio and visual in a comfortable distance to do that's about 10 foot.
So Chris, there are a lot of people out there that do what you do, and they've made a lot of money off of lawsuits. I have nothing to do with like YouTube views or anything like that. So my question to you is, have you ever been in situations, I'm sure you have been, where your First Amendment rights were taken away from you, or you feel that way, and you hired an attorney and you won a lawsuit? Has that ever happened?
Not in Arizona.
But it's happened in other states with you.
In New Mexico, I haven't filed anything, but we do have a pending lawsuit in New Mexico. Yeah.
Got you. What advice would you give somebody that's any interaction with the cops? Could be pulled over for a speeding ticket, could be jaywalking. I have no idea. What advice, because you've had so many interactions with law enforcement and you're an expert when it comes to this stuff. So what advice would you give regular everyday people that have interactions with law enforcement?
Don't talk to them. Don't have small talk. Don't answer questions that you don't have to answer. Know what questions you don't have to answer. I mean, it's not a good, I mean, in my videos, I talk to them a lot, because I know how to talk to them. I know exactly what I can and what I can't say. But for the average person, I would just tell them, don't have small talk with them. That body cam that's rolling is recording everything that you say, and they're not asking you questions because they're curious about your life. Every question that they ask you is leading towards trying to incriminate you on anything that they can. And it sounds crazy, like, oh, they're not really doing that. Yes, they are. They're trained to do it.
Do you feel like some people say to you, Chris, you're just trying to bait the officers, you're trying to get them to say something or do something? Do you feel like that is ever your intention, where you're trying to bait the officers into doing something or saying something stupid?
Absolutely.
You are. So you're open
Absolutely.
on that. You're honest and open.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it's not baiting. I mean, yeah, it's baiting. If I put a hook on a worm and I drop it in the water and I catch a fish, I mean, that's the fish's fault for biting the hook.
Right. Right.
I mean, it's an officer that is supposed to be professionally trained and is in their patrol guides, their policies, and everything that has to do with the back end on how they're supposed to operate. It says they're supposed to be respectful. They're supposed to maintain, open communication with the public. They have rules that they get paid to follow. And if I can do something to get them to break those rules without breaking the law, then they shouldn't be a police officer. That is not somebody who's emotionally stable. And I mean, they have the ability to ruin your life.
I agree. I agree
If
with
they
what
step
you're
out
saying.
of line emotionally because of some stupid stuff that I did, that's not cool.
No, I agree with that. I go back in history to say Rodney King. Those officers would not have been held accountable at all. We wouldn't have even known who Rodney King was if somebody wasn't videoing it. I also look at, for example, George Floyd, right? Derek Chauvin would still be a police officer today because we all know they lied on the police report. If there weren't good Samaritans that were recording what took place there, we would not know who George Floyd is. So obviously I'm on your side when it comes to that. Where I think it gets a little sticky, and by the way, I'm not accusing you of breaking any laws. You have the right to do what you've done, and from what I've seen, you haven't broken any laws in doing so. For me, and tell me if you disagree or not, if somebody pulls me over and they ask me questions if I've been drinking and I have nothing to hide, I just answer their questions, right? And I know maybe not you, but there are some people that will respond by saying, I don't answer questions, like a DUI checkpoint. You've seen these. I know you don't do this, but I've seen some of these videos where I don't answer questions. I don't answer questions. And I think to myself, I know legally you don't have to answer that question. I get it. But at the same time, why not just make their life a little easier and yours? If you have nothing to hide and you haven't been drinking, why not just answer them? So I guess, do you see where I'm coming from, Chris? I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong, but I also feel like sometimes people make police. I think we all could agree being a police officer is a difficult job, but police officers need to be professional. I agree with you. They need to de-escalate. I agree there. But I also think there are times where citizens make their jobs more difficult. Am I wrong in assuming that?
No, I don't think I think that there's sometimes that could be the case, but as far as a logical standpoint, when you answer one question, that leads you into answering more. And that's what they're doing. They're asking you. They don't look. I have seen officers arrest people that were sober. So I've seen it over and almost every week that I've gone out and recorded the police. I have seen them arrest people that are sober. I mean, if you just Google that kind of thing, it comes up all over the country because there's a reward system for arresting people that are drunk. It's called MAD. There's a MAD point system. You get these certificates as an officer, and it gives you good credit when you go try to advance in rank or get a different job somewhere else in the country. But they're not, I mean, literally, they will arrest you for being sober. So if you answer, no, I'm not drinking. Well, where are you coming from? Oh, I'm coming from my mom's house, or this. It's a series of questions that they're going to continue to ask you to eventually get you out of the car. I mean, if you stutter a little bit when you answer one of their questions because you're nervous, that's a trigger for them. Now their eyes are going to get all big and they're going to ask you something else. And then it's going to be like, sir, step out of the vehicle for me. And you're going to be like, well, why? Or just do it. And then they're going to ask you to do a DUI test. You're sober. But you shouldn't do the you should never have answered the question from the start, and you wouldn't be out of your car doing a DUI test.
No, listen, long story short, I agree again, Chris. I was in Utah last year. I was pulled over for no reason. Cop said I went through a stop sign. I didn't. I was leaving a bar. I didn't have one drink. My friend did. Pulls me over. I knew he was full of crap. He started asking me questions. I did answer his questions because I wasn't drinking, but I was there for 15 minutes. I didn't do anything wrong. 6 officers showed up and I was pissed off. I wish I recorded that. I didn't. You would have. And it was wrong. And it was wrong the way they pulled me over, the way they treated me, and I wasn't happy about it. On the other side of things, I do want to ask you this. You alluded to this a little bit earlier. Would you agree with me, though? We know that there are bad cops out there. We know that. You've come across some of them, unfortunately. But would you agree with me that most cops, I don't know if you could put a percentage on it, but most cops, I'd like to think, are reasonable people. They're heroes. They serve and protect. Is that a fair? Would you agree with me on that? That most cops are not bad cops?
No, 90% of them are bad cops.
Really? You really believe
5% of the sworn police officers work in police stations. The other 5% are good cops. 95%, 90% of them are not good. There's 5% that work in the police stations that don't necessarily have interactions with the public. They're not at scenes. They're all right. And then the 5% that just do their job. I mean, you have to understand police culture. It is literally cliques and gangs, just like high school. The supervisors, the training officers are not teaching them how to enforce the law. They're teaching them how to do things their way. So, I mean, every police stop that I've been at, except for maybe a handful that I've put up on my channel, there's something wrong with it. There is something wrong going on, whether it's what they're doing to me or what they're doing to the people there. And then when they're doing stuff that's wrong and it's so obvious that a 3-year-old could tell, the other ones that are just standing around that might have been good guys that didn't intervene, they all become part of the not good cop group.
What do you attribute that to? Do you think it's bad training? Do you think there's just some bad people? Is it ego? Is it all the above? What's the reasoning behind that?
I mean, it's been known for a long time, the thin blue line. You don't cross the thin blue line as a police officer. It's a gang mentality. I did a lot of time in prison. I have a lot of experience with gangs. And then I get out into the real world. I start doing my business thing. And then this police situation pops up with my girl and I get involved in the police. And I'm mind blown that everything that they're doing is exactly like the gangs in prison. They get their little tattoos. They've got patches all over themselves. They don't talk to outsiders. They don't communicate with people that aren't cops or family of cops when they're not in uniform. They're just they literally operate like a gang. I mean, this might not be might not be applicable to every police department around the country because there's small town police departments and sheriffs that this might not apply to. But as far as Arizona goes, in my experience with Arizona specifically, 1000%, that's what I believe.
And well, that's a lot. If you believe that 90% of cops are
90%.
bad cops, that's really bad. I hope that's not true. I'm not saying that's very high. I've had some bad interactions with law enforcement as well. I mean, I think, I've told people this, right? I think you could be pro-police and pro-Black Lives Matter at the same time. I'd like to think that when I have an interaction with a cop, he's not going to treat me badly, but some have. I would be lying if I told you otherwise. Also, on the flip side of things, when I see a cop, I try to shake their hand and I try to be respectful of them. I try to say thank you for what you do. There's good cops and bad cops. And if it is 90%, that's really bad and that's really high. On the flip side of things as well, there's a target on your back now, let's be honest, for what you've done with these videos on social media. Can you tell me about that target that is on your back? And correct me if I'm wrong, but there are warrants for you right now. Tell me why, and do you still believe to this day that they have put a target on your back for these videos that you put out there?
Oh, absolutely. I did a live stream recently where somebody in the comments had left a comment about 3 Mesa police officers like to talk about me off duty and how they're going to take me out to the desert and disappear me. And then had gotten a couple emails like that too, basically family of cops or cops themselves outright threatening to kill me in emails, or maybe it might just be trolls. But I don't care. I'm going to take them serious.
Right.
So in a live stream, I made a comment that, if you guys do anything illegal, you might not survive it. And then I said something along the lines of, if you guys do anything illegal to me, I'm going to cut your heads off. So it wasn't like I'm going to attack cops. It was me putting a warning out to the threats towards me. Right. And the police departments manipulated everything that I said and put out a memo saying that Mr. Ruff has threatened to do this towards police officers. He said he's going to kill police officers and use extreme caution. We don't know if he's armed, blah, blah, blah. They guess a memo that I wasn't supposed to see that got leaked to me. Yeah, I found it in my emails. And I put it in a video, and then so they're enhancing the warrants. The warrants are just failure to appear for court dates. So I didn't show up to courts because the courts aren't playing by the rules. I mean, I understand, I've been dealing with the courts and been in and out of court, a couple times a week for years. And, it's not worth going anymore. So I stopped going.
How about your family? What does your family say about this, right? You have a kid, you have a family. Does your family 3 kids? Wow, that's a lot. That's 3 more than me. What does your family members say about all this? Do they think that you should continue to do these videos, or are they in fear? What do they tell you?
I mean, most of my family are very ignorant, so they have, they have no idea what's going on. My close family, my girl and my kids, I mean, they're completely supportive. I've got a very strong support group, but my actual family.
Do you still, to this day, let's just say you're pulled over today for something, maybe it could be just something simple like a speeding ticket. Would you still record it to this day?
Yeah,
you would.
Absolutely.
And where do you go from here, Chris? You have these warrants, right? You have a target on your back, as you say, and I believe you when you say that. Let's be honest. Cops don't like to be recorded. No. Some cops will even tell you, you can record, that's fine, but they don't like you recording them, yet they have body camera and they're allowed to record. Where do you go from here? Are you in fear of law enforcement in Arizona? Where do you go from here? I guess that's my question.
I mean, yeah, but right now is a waiting game. I've got a lease that's about to be up. I've got a baby that's about to be born. My 3rd son's about to be born. And then I've got some other things to take care of, but about January, February of next year, I have a lawyer friend that just got approved to practice in Arizona, and we're supposed to be starting a law firm, and he's going to be picking up a lot of my cases and filing federal suits on this.
Wow. Well, listen, if anybody broke your constitutional rights, then I have no problem with that. Let me ask you this. Let's just say, for example, if a police chief called you and said, look, Chris, I know we have our differences. Let's learn from each other. Can you come in and let's try to work together on ways you think we can do things better with the public? Let's have a better relationship. Is that something that you would ever entertain?
I mean, absolutely. I've been open to that since the beginning. I've sent in the beginning, I sent messages to the only people that have been willing to sit down with me is the mayor of Tempe, the mayor and the city manager of Tempe, Arizona. Those are the only leaders of cities that have sat down with me so far. And it didn't go anywhere. I brought a lot of stuff to their attention. I gave them evidence. I gave them, the ability to get more evidence from me, and nothing happened.
That's where I get angry, Chris. That's when I get frustrated and I get angry, because there's no reason for that. If you're willing, and it sounds like you are, to work with police, hey, here's some things that I think could help with the community. I have evidence of this, these officers doing this. Here's where we can improve. To me, that sounds like they're just pushing you aside, and it's ego, and they're not willing to be better. I always talk about on this show, we need a better relationship between law enforcement and citizens. And I think that does go both ways. But if they're not willing to even have a sit down and talk with you and find out why people like you are so angry with law enforcement today, then things aren't going to get better. And that's my biggest frustration with this whole thing, is that, here you are, you're obviously very frustrated and angry with law enforcement, and you've been in some situations where you should be, and yet they're not willing to listen to you. If they want you off the streets and they don't want you saying certain things to cops and videoing them, then maybe they should just have you in and try to develop a relationship with you. And I guess it sounds to me they're not trying to do that.
So I've even gone as far as to offer constitutional training from my perspective to multiple police departments and sheriff's agencies in Arizona in an attempt to help them avoid creating lawsuits on a daily basis. And it kind of got laughed out of place. But, that was 200,000 subscribers ago when I wasn't well known, and, I was more of an irritant. So
right.
They could have nipped this in the bud a long time ago. I've been telling them since day one, all you got to do is ignore me. All you got to do is ignore me, because if you don't say anything to me when I walk up, you don't say anything when I want to tell somebody that they have the right to remain silent. You don't say anything to me when I tell somebody they don't have to do DUI tests on the side of the road. Then I won't have a channel, because it's the interactions when a cop walks up to me and wants to get aggressive that have grown my channel. That's the only reason that I'm at 250,000 followers just on one YouTube channel, is because they
Right.
have this incessant need to walk to, it's like a mosquito to a blue light that's going to zap them every single time, but they
Sure.
know it's going to zap them. You know what I mean? And
And
they still
Chris,
do it anyway.
imagine what it was like 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Oh, scary.
We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have body cameras. Now there's cell phones everywhere. Imagine what was going on. I tell people this all the time, 20 or 30 years ago, right?
Yeah. Imagine what was going on.
With no cameras. We had no cameras. We had, you know what I mean? So it's
You
like,
see how violent they are today on camera. Imagine how much more violent they were 20 years ago.
I mean, while I would hope that 90% of cops are not bad cops, and I would hope that there are a lot of good cops out there. At least there have been some that I've dealt with. I love our sheriff here, Kevin McMahon. I think he's a great guy. He's very transparent. I hope it's not 90%. I don't know the answer to that, but you have far more interactions with law enforcement than I do. But I would say this, and I'm sure you don't condone this either. I don't condone anybody just randomly going up to cops and flipping them off. I don't condone anybody just swearing at cops randomly, which I'm not saying you're doing, even though that's not against the law, by the way. I don't condone that behavior, but I also don't condone a police officer arresting somebody or harassing somebody because of their, First Amendment rights, not breaking any laws either. So I think it goes two ways there. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, I don't agree with somebody just walking up and mouthing off for no reason. I mean, there's some people that just hate the police, and there's nothing that's going to change their mind, and that's what you're going to get from them. But flipping them off is different. I mean, it's an expressive gesture that, I mean, yeah, it's not kosher, it's not politically correct, and it's not nice, but I do it and I don't have it's not like I don't like the police. I'm just, it's a test. It's a test for me. If you do or say anything because I flipped you off, you're proving my point.
Yeah. Well, if I'm a police officer, which I'm not, and if I'm in my cruiser and I see you flipping me off, I probably laugh in my car and I say, okay, that guy's just a moron. Let's keep going. Right. But I don't engage you. Right. I think the problem is in your videos that I've seen, the cops then react and they engage. They're wrong. Police officers can laugh it off and say, screw you, and just keep going. But they're paid by us, the taxpayer, to be professional. They work for us, which obviously So I think it goes both ways. And listen, if your tests are proving that there are officers out there that are going after our First Amendment rights, and if your videos are educating people, which I think they are, they've educated me, then personally, I necessarily don't see anything wrong with it. Law enforcement are professionals, at least they're supposed to be, and they're supposed to be better. Can you do me a favor, Chris, before I let you go? Can you give out your YouTube page? Give out your information, how people can follow you if somebody wants to contact you, and if somebody wants to get involved and be a part of what you're doing.
Well, I operate two YouTube channels, Christopher Ruff and DirectD. And my email is copsgoneviral@gmail.com.
Copsgoneviral@gmail.com. That's also where I found you. Chris, I wish you the best of luck, my friend. I really do appreciate you coming on. Hopefully we can have you on again soon down the road and maybe, talk about get into some deeper topics. But I do appreciate you. I wish you the best of luck. And, keep on fighting for, everyday Americans and their First Amendment rights. I appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody. That's I like calling him DirectD because I just think that's like a really catchy name. But that's Christopher Ruffus, and he has a large following on YouTube. And now he has a target on his back. He has warrants out for his arrest. Cops don't like being recorded. Some cops. Listen, I tend to disagree with him a little bit on the 90% figure. I don't think that 9 out of 10 cops are bad cops. I think maybe some cops maybe haven't had the best training. Does that mean they're bad people? I don't know. Does that mean they're bad cops? I don't know. I will say this, that number is very, very high. And I hope that's not true. But I know a lot of good cops too. And I've been involved with, some bad cops as well. But I do consider myself pro-police, but I'm also pro-First Amendment rights. And Chris, from the videos that I've seen, he's not breaking any laws. So I don't see anything really legally wrong with what he is doing. And I appreciate him taking the time. All right, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, this is going to be interesting because we had this guy in studio before. He's an openly gay man. He's dressed in drag. He's gone to drag queen readings. His name is Miles Lynk, also known as Sister Aura. Why am I having him in studio today? Well, he got involved with some far-right people. I would call them far-right fringe people. One of those names, Mindy Robinson. A video that went viral of a physical altercation and an arrest was made. Why were they there? Why was he there? What was this all about? I'm going to ask him those questions when we come back. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits here. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at the Postal Annex. They have a notary signing agent on site daily, no appointment needed, and they offer a full scale of printing services from shipping labels to documents, business cards, banners, photos, and business signage. They're your passport service headquarters. They offer passport photos, and they can renew your adult passports. If you're traveling in a hurry, they can get those passports to you within 7 days or less. Mailbox rentals with a physical street address, and they also receive your packages from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and more. Here's the best part. If you're a Pushing the Limits listener, they have an introductory rate of only $39 for a 3-month service. You can't beat it. Give them a call, 702-873-8005. Check them out at 6130 West Flamingo Road. It's the Postal Annex. Tell them I sent you.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life.
Hey everybody, it's Brian
requires
Shapiro.
guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
When you bring your vehicle to Star Auto Care for maintenance, you'll have a team of professionals at your service. Every one of our technicians has been factory trained and master status certified to ensure that you receive the highest quality and most effective service. Star Auto Care is located at 3540 East Tropicana Avenue, just east of Pecos. Star Auto Care is confident in their prices and will match any mechanic located within 20 miles. Bring your vehicle in today and let Star Auto Care give you the peace of mind you deserve when you service your car.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams and treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
The German Show, Sunday mornings at 10 on KSHP, North Las Vegas, AM and FM, 829 6HP, North Las Vegas, and KSHP.com.
Welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate that. That was an interesting conversation with Christopher Ruff, also known as Direct D. That was, I'm going to have him come back on because I think that was a very fascinating conversation. Before we get on to anything else, I do want to share this with you. There's a lot of people coughing out there, and there's illness everywhere. There's COVID, there's colds, there's the flu. Yeah, there's Numchuck coughing in studio, getting me sick. If you're not feeling good, check out Sahara West Urgent Primary Care. They're located at 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Great people. Jessica and Andrew will take care of you over there. No appointment needed, but if you want to give them a call, you can. 702-248-0554. You could also visit them online at SaharaWestUrgentCare.com. So I'm floating around on social media the other day, and I'm looking at stuff, and there's a video that kind of got a lot of attention. It's a video of Mindy Robinson. If you don't know who Mindy Robinson is, she's a failed politician. Stars in a lot of those Skinamax movies where, and listen, I have no problem with people taking their clothes off. I can choose to watch it or choose not to. I'll be honest with you, I've never watched one of Mindy's movies before. I'm sure it's great, and I'm sure she's, Oscar-worthy actress, I'm sure. But she did some of those movies, and her boyfriend is Randy Couture, great guy. I know Randy's a great guy, really super nice guy, but Mindy is alt-right, fringe, right-wing crazy. She says crazy things on social media. She attacks one side of the aisle. She attacks transgenders. She attacks LGBT community. She does this kind of stuff on a regular basis. I find her despicable. And I'm sure she would say the same thing about me because I'm on the right side of history, and I defend people like that. So there's this video circulating of her and a few of her crony friends videoing and really, in my opinion, verbally assaulting a guy by the name of Miles Lynk, who joins us in studio, also known as Sister Aura. He came in as Sister Aura a few months back. So I want to play the video, but before I just wanted to introduce you, Miles. Thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Oh my God, it's so amazing to be here.
I
loved your last conversation so much. I was like, oh, I should be in on that one.
That was an interesting one, that's for sure. Anyway, I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
So last time you were here, you were dressed in, would you call it drag?
Well,
what would you characterize
certainly,
it as?
Certainly sister drag.
Sister
yes.
drag. So I have a good eye, okay?
You
and
do.
I said, I know that guy. He was in studio here a few months ago, and it was you, right?
It was.
All right, so here's what I want to do. I want to play a minute or so of this video where things got a little testy, and then we'll talk about. So when did this happen before we play it?
Oh my goodness. It happened
a few weeks ago?
Last Thursday.
Okay.
No, Thursday. The Thursday before last.
So a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And where is this happening at?
So it happened at our what we call the Nunnery. It's our location over in the commercial center.
So the Nunnery. Okay.
But it wasn't our event. What it was there's a organization out there called Pink Parasol, and what they do is they show up at Pride events, and they literally with parasols block the haters so that people from the parade don't have to see them.
So you have this organization.
So they were there to train people on how to do this because we were going to St. George's Pride the next day.
So this is like a store, or it's like it's where you
just
have
a big
meetings?
open. It's a big open warehouse. We have our meetings
And it's
there,
in
but we
Vegas.
also
So it's a warehouse where you're having a meeting there.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to understand this. So Mindy Robinson and her several group of people, right-wing fringe group, I think, they show up there to protest you. Is that why they're there?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Well, protest. So not protest us, to protest the Pink Parasol or the what I just said, the parasol,
which is a pro LGBT.
Yeah. Well, they just they block. Literally, they open up their umbrellas so that they can't be affecting the people who are enjoying the parade.
So they just show up there to hate on gay people. Is that a fair characterization?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So they just show up there and you're walking out of the store or you're walking out of the warehouse.
Actually, I was at home and
and you found out they were there.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're at home. The group of people that you're a part of are there and you're getting text messages from some of your friends that say, hey, we have this right-wing fringe group that's there.
We have Taliban Barbie in the in the parking lot.
Yeah. And then you decide to show up. Okay. You show up. And now let's play a little bit of the audio. Here's what it sounded like.
The only books that have ever been written to children are
Don't touch me. I'll you up. Don't touch me.
You just touched me.
Don't
So
touch
what
me.
do you want?
No, me, dear.
That's
Don't touch me.
not happening.
Just stand back from her phone.
Well, if she wants to get in my face,
Everybody,
yeah, it's on
stand back.
video that you're.
He's
Keep my
fine.
hands on me saying
He's
that.
fine.
You're not good. Show the video.
What the fuck?
Get over here, dude. I watch your chest pumping.
I
You guys
didn't-
are arguing. Set your phone down.
He just pushed.
Set your phone down.
He
Set your
pushed
phone
her.
down.
I have it on
Sneak
film.
up on me.
I have it on film. I have it on film.
Okay, so you get the gist of what happened. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. One of Mindy's people gets arrested. Somebody that was videoing this,
He wasn't.
correct?
So no, he wasn't arrested.
Okay, he was put in handcuffs though.
He was put in handcuffs. And I was not put in handcuffs, but I was also,
So
secluded.
to kind of describe to me, because to the listeners, what exactly we heard there and what was happening in that video.
Well, so it started out with me and a guy that wasn't on that video. We had a great conversation. I mean, he was still batshit crazy, but we had a good, it was a civil conversation.
Right.
And he was like, they are training children up there. And I was like,
what are they calling you, pedophiles and
Yes,
stuff?
yes.
Can we just, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is really important. Have you ever been arrested for doing anything like that?
No.
Never, right? You've never been arrested. You've never been in trouble with the law.
No.
You've never been accused by real people like law enforcement of being a pedophile.
No.
I just want to be clear on that.
Well,
because
and
there's-
here's the thing. If I had, yes, arrest me.
Right.
Because no, I'm not that. Yes, I deserve to be in jail.
They're just, why? Because you're a gay man. I can't
Yes.
stand this when people, pedophile. Why? Because he's gay? Guess
Well,
what? There's straight people that are
they
pedophiles too.
They throw, well, statistically, mostly.
Yeah.
But they throw this grooming thing out there, like,
Right.
okay, so the moment children are born, they're told what religion they should believe in, what clothes they should wear, what gender they should identify with, what, that kind of grooming.
Yeah.
It's like, I get really tired of the whole grooming.
As do I.
get so tired of the whole
It's such
grooming
a
thing.
bigoted view. Okay, so you show up there.
So I show
you're
up
getting
there, I'm
text-
having a conversation with this
Yep.
guy, and he's telling me about children. I was like, "Do you see any children?" He's like, "No, but that's what they're doing." And I was like, I don't know what you think that they're doing up there, but they're really just trying to protect people,
Mhm.
trying to enjoy a parade from people like you who are trying to ruin the day for them. Like
Right.
that's all they're doing up there. They're showing people how to do it without confrontation. That's the training that's going on.
So
They're
you're-
showing people how
Right.
to.
I see nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So you're having a conversation with this guy. You
And
get
then
it,
he brought her in.
and then Mindy Robinson comes into the equation,
Yeah,
who
then
I am
he
not
brought
very
her in.
fond of. I've been very clear on that. And she comes.
How do you
in-
really feel?
Well, listen, she did my show several years ago. I think she's desperate for attention. And listen, if you're desperate for attention, there are things you can do without hurting people
Mhm.
to get attention. If you want to set up a YouTube page and video yourself exercising or showing off your body
Yep.
or cooking, fine. I wouldn't watch it, but but fine, go ahead and do that. But why do you have to hurt people and say things that hurt people? Does she
Yeah.
not understand that's what she's doing?
And then the bitch tried to fat shame me. She,
Oh, geez.
Well, on
Oh,
her,
geez.
when she showed that video on her thing, she was
Yeah.
like, and then the fat.
Yeah,
whatever.
I got you. Well, first of all, I'm not going to shame anybody's body or shame people for having 8 layers of makeup on, but I will say this. People that attack other people based on looks, for the most part, have their own insecurity issues and have issues with their own face and their own body. So what they try to do is they try to insult other people. I'll be honest with you. I've made some insults about Donald Trump's physique. I'll
Oh,
be the
yes.
first one to admit that. I've cracked a few jokes here and there, but the reason why I do that is not because of Brian's insecurities. It's because he does it to other people and he deserves it. I believe, and some people might say 2 wrongs don't make a right, and they're probably right about that. But hateful people I think sometimes deserve to be hated on. But
Well, and
yeah.
what the thing with what happened with Mindy is, I don't think that I would have ever taken it to the point where I took it if it wasn't for the video that I told you that I have.
And we're
'Cause-
gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this original video. So in that video, because we're doing radio, it appears to be she flails her hand and she kind of touches your arm. Is
Yeah.
that okay? Nothing major.
No,
And then
I
you
wasn't like,
and then you kind of get in your face a little bit, maybe for like a brief second, chest to chest. Is that a fair?
well, when she first hit, because she was very
She was
animated.
flailing her hand
Yeah,
too.
I'm
She said-
Italian.
by the way, she said if you touched her, she would F you up. You went chest to chest with her. She didn't do anything.
She didn't do
I
anything.
just want to be very clear on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
So
Can
yeah,
I
she
just-
accidentally
Is it wrong
brought-
for me to laugh a little bit? Like when you guys are
Oh, it
chest to
was
chest.
funny.
When you guys are chest to chest, I did laugh a little bit because it was
Yeah,
kind of funny.
It
Yeah.
was chest to stomach. I don't know. So I don't know if you saw this in the video, but when she was being animated and brushed my hand, when she
Yeah.
was like, "Don't touch me," I was like, "I didn't touch you."
Right.
It wasn't until he kind of stepped in and was like, just chill out, and I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna back down." Like, and that's
Right.
when I kind of stepped into
Sure,
it.
sure.
And yeah, people have said you kind of instigated it, but I don't believe that. I've watched it and I know what happened before and after.
Oh, well, first of all, why don't they mind their own business? Why don't they let you do what you're doing with your group of people that weren't hurting anybody? And why don't
Right.
they mind their own frickin' business? Okay, so that's number one.
Yeah.
And so this is public property, though. So obviously,
Well, it's private property because it belongs to that particular part belongs to New Orleans Square.
Right.
So it is private property, and the owner did
Right.
come out and was like, "I can have you all."
yeah. Well, the camera guy gets handcuffed, and now you're telling me that they didn't press any charges and he was released.
Well, he wasn't the camera guy.
Or who was the guy that got arrested, or not arrested, but who was
The
the guy
one
that-
who steps in front of.
Okay. Do you think he deserved to be handcuffed?
Because of what he was going crazy on the police, like screaming at them, and
Really?
I was like, dude, you're not really helping it. To me, he was very civil. He was trying. He even
Yeah.
told them to shut up at one point because he was trying to have a conversation
Yeah.
with me. But
Right.
then when Mindy started getting louder and I got louder.
So what are the things that they're calling you a pedophile? Like what they're saying you're indoctrinating
Well,
kids? Like what?
his whole thing was he had this thing on his phone of
Right.
this animated porn. So it was like a comic book.
PG-13. Yeah, yeah.
No, it was.
Oh, we'll
no.
describe it PG-13.
Yeah, well,
but it was animated with sexual stuff.
Right. It was
Right.
it was like a comic book,
Right.
but it was a porn.
Gotcha.
And it was a gay porn.
And you have nothing to do with this.
And he's like, "Do you think they should be having this in public library or in school libraries?" And I was like, "No," and they don't.
Right.
And he's like, "Yes, they do." And I was like, "No, they don't." And they're reading this to children, these drag queen hours. I'm like, nobody is reading that.
Okay, so
to
there's
children.
a misinformed idiot.
Yeah,
okay?
and
he's an
and,
idiot.
and another thing, why is it on your phone?
Yeah.
Like, why
They're-
do
they're
you?
upset.
Why
So-
are you watching
So
it?
a couple things I want to say about that, Miles. First of all, this is a misinformed dope.
Yes.
This is a right-wing idiot dope who doesn't know what he's talking. By the way, worst case scenario, let's just say, for hypothetical reasons, that book was in a library. What the hell do you have to do with it? You had nothing to do with that.
That's shame on the
What-
school
what-
board.
What are they calling you a
Shame on-
pet? Right.
Shame on the.
Why don't you go in front of the school board and do
Yeah.
why are
I
they
didn't put
accosting
it in
you?
there.
You didn't do anything wrong. That's how
Yeah.
stupid these people are.
Yeah.
That's how stupid these people are. That would be like me. I mean, maybe this is a bad analogy, but I don't know. People going up to a Muslim and blaming them for the Hamas attack in Israel. I would never do that because everybody's different and not
But
everybody.
people do that all the time, right?
It's ignorant.
When the whole
Yeah.
coronavirus
Yeah.
thing happened in China,
And-
Asian people were getting
Right.
Yeah.
Horrible. And this is what I tell some of these people. I'm like, over 2,000 kids have been molested from the clergy. Why aren't you telling people not to go to church? Can you name me one child that has ever been molested from drag queen reading? I had a dope in your seat, not you, Miles. I had a woman in your seat that's a part of this organization. I'm not even going to say her name. Child advocacy group, she claimed, right? And she's against drag queen reading and indoctrinating our kids. When I brought up the clergy, she had no idea really what I was talking about. And then I said,
come on.
why don't you protest in front of a church? And I
Well,
said, can you name me
Utah
one?
has the whole book banning thing.
Right.
The Utah Congress actually had the Bible banned from book because of all the sexual content in it.
Yeah.
They're
You don't want to
so-
hear that. You won't hear them talk about that.
No.
But they're not going to protest in front of a church. And then I ask these people, I say, can you give me one example of one child that has been physically harmed, abused in any way, shape, or form, at a drag queen reading. They can't even give me one example, just like these idiots that talk about critical race theory. Can you give me an example of a teacher teaching critical? They can't give me one example.
because it's a college course.
It's absurd. These people are so stupid. It's absurd. But here's what makes it worse. The people that maybe are not stupid, but they're doing this to get attention.
Well,
now you have a video that you sent me of, and it is hard to hear, but I think I was able to make it out, of Mindy Robinson making a statement that I believe the only, part that I believe that she was being honest. What did she say?
Well, so one of the Parasol Patrol was actually videoing that part when I got there.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you're seeing is Mindy talking to, I think it was a person they brought to video them so they could put it on their social media kind of thing.
Right.
And she's telling him, this is the only way we can get national attention. We don't actually believe any of this.
Mm.
And when I heard that, that's why I kind of went, and I even, she took that part out of the video she put of me, because I said, so you said this back there. And she was like, no, I didn't. I was like, do you want to see the video? Because we have it on video. And she totally changed the subject. And then, so when I finally got this, and it's,
see, but that's not,
and that's why I got, it's like, you don't even believe this. And you're calling us like these horrific things that in any other circumstance, we could sue you for defamation of
course you
character.
could. How pathetic of an individual do you have to be the type of person? For example, I'm going to compare this to people picketing outside of Target, because I think it's very similar, because it comes from a place of hatred and ignorance. As you know, Miles, these stores at Target were selling pro-LGBT shirts and stuff, and I don't care. I don't see anything wrong with it. Don't care. Let them sell it. I have no problem with it. It's not like they're selling swastikas, okay? Pro-gay flags or pro-gay. I have absolutely no problem with that stuff, and I don't think the message is bad. I think it's actually good. Be happy with who you are. Doesn't matter what your sexuality is, straight, gay, bi, whatever.
And that's what I was trying to tell them.
Be proud
that
of
day.
who you
Yeah.
are. And you have these people that picket or have picketed throughout the country at Target parking lots, harassing customers going in and out of there.
Yeah.
Mindy is the same kind of person. She's trying to get attention, desperately trying to get attention, by the way, as a failed politician, to insult and harass people with her stupid ideology and her hateful ideology.
That she clearly doesn't believe.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? What you just mentioned, because I talk about this on my show all the time, and I'm going to name you a few characters that, in my opinion, are very similar to Mindy. You may or may not know. Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk. These are the types of right-wing, fringe people. Tommy Lauren. These are the types of right-wing fringe, right-wing fringe people that I don't think they're stupid people, but I do believe they're willing to say hateful things and things
into a niche that they know that they can.
And why? So that they can make money and become popular,
so
right?
that they can be influencers.
And these people need to be called out. Now, at the same time, I don't want to give them attention, but they need to be called out. Yeah. And I think you have to be a special type of loser to wake up one morning and say, hey, we got these group of people that are going to be doing a parade here. Let's go out there with our video cameras and let's harass them and let's call them pedophiles. First of all, do they even understand what a pedophile is? Do they understand a pedophile is not a sexuality? A pedophile is someone that is attracted to children. It is a disease, a mental illness. And to try to correlate that to someone who is a gay man, a happily married gay man, it's beyond ignorant. I can't even imagine that they actually believe this stuff.
No.
But throwing that out there and calling somebody a pedophile is beyond insulting.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even think they understand what the word means.
I think they use these words because they know it's going to get, like she said on the video that you're going to show, this is the only way they can get national attention.
Yeah.
This is it. They can't come and say, hey, we just don't like you guys, because who's going to cover that?
Yeah.
They can't just come and say, hey, I don't believe because that's the conversation I was having with them before she and I got involved.
Right.
It's like, okay, you're saying that we're causing harm to these children. We are giving them a safe place to be themselves.
And again, they don't have evidence. I'm an evidence-based person. If you believe that your group or you personally or drag queen reading is causing harm to kids. Where is your evidence?
Yeah.
You can't make a claim like that without actually showing evidence. Now, I'll be honest with you, and maybe this is something we can talk about the next segment. I've changed my position a little bit on kids turning to transgenders. I do believe that maybe pre-puberty, it might be inappropriate. But at the same time, I don't want to tell parents what to do. And if they're speaking to professionals about it, who am I to judge that? Although I do believe that after puberty might be a better appropriate time when you know what you're maybe a little bit have a better understanding of what your sexuality is. But I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist, and I don't pretend to be
That's
one on the
the
radio.
key right there.
I'm not, and I admit that.
And if with your child, absolutely.
Right.
Nobody's saying that.
Exactly.
Nobody's saying, nope, you have to let your child.
But the idea that children across the country are being mutilated is disgusting as well, because that's not true. Are there some kids out there that have gotten transgender surgery and maybe they regret it down the road? Sure. There's also a lot of kids out there that commit suicide because of gender dysphoria.
Yeah.
So this is an issue in this.
Well, there's a lot of kids who, and this was what I was trying to, had a civil conversation with the guy. I'm like, no, do you know how many kids commit suicide every year because they're raised by people like you,
Right.
who teach them that they're
Right.
an abomination, that they're wrong, that God is going to burn them in hell. I go, so many kids commit suicide every year because of messages like yours, and we're just telling them, no, there's nothing wrong with you. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with you.
I agree with you 150%. I think this is an important topic to discuss, and we need to call out people that are hatred people. We need to call out bigots. We need to call out people that throw the word pedophile around. It seems like it's always the fringe alt-right that are doing that. I never hear liberals saying, you're a pedophile, you're a pedophile. Why is it the left that is, in my personal opinion, is so accepting of the LGBT community? And why is it always the fringe right, those types of people
Yeah.
that are picketing in front of Target? I'll let people make those decisions for themselves. But I got a lot more to talk to you about. I know you brought in some shirts and stuff. I want to talk to you. I think you have an event coming up too, if I'm not mistaken, right? I thought
The
you had
sisters,
some.
yeah.
Yeah, so we
have
can,
an event this Saturday.
I'm happy to promote that. We could talk about that and maybe even take some phone calls. I'm going to go live on TikTok. I haven't done that, but I'm going to do it now. The number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. And again, that number if you want to be a part of the conversation. Hey, if Mindy's out there listening, Mindy, you're welcome to call in and talk about the chest pump that you guys did in the high five. 702-22.
Come on, Mad Cow Barbie. Let's go.
702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. We're talking to Miles Lynk, Sister Aura. And if you have a comment or anything about indoctrinating our kids, or you're welcome to call in. Again, that number 702-221-7283. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits here. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at the Postal Annex. They have a notary signing agent on site daily, no appointment needed, and they offer a full scale of printing services from shipping labels to documents, business cards, banners, photos, and business signage. They're your passport service headquarters. They offer passport photos, and they can renew your adult passports. If you're traveling in a hurry, they can get those passports to you within 7 days or less. Mailbox rentals with a physical street address, and they also receive your packages from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and more. Here's the best part. If you're a Pushing the Limits listener, they have an introductory rate of only $39 for a 3-month service. You can't beat it. Give them a call, 702-873-8005. Check them out at 6130 West Flamingo Road. It's the Postal Annex. Tell them I sent you.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
Whether you're a corporate executive, on a family vacation, or just passing through, St. George Inn & Suites will meet your specific needs. It's conveniently located near restaurants, shopping, and movie theaters. St. George Inn & Suites offers a variety of room types, 2 fabulous pools and jacuzzis, a fitness center, a free full hot buffet breakfast, and laundry facilities. To make your booking, call 435-673-6661 or book online at stgeorgeinnhotel.com. You need to stop in Southern Utah? Make that stop at St. George Inn & Suites.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits. Thank you for joining us on a Tuesday. Program note, Rabbi Yavitz Vine, local rabbi here, coming in studio tomorrow to talk about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Going to get his side of things, and I respect him a great deal, so want to get that perspective. So we'll be doing that. Speaking of perspectives, if you're thinking of buying or selling a home, there's no better person than Blake Gwynn. His father is the former governor, Kenny Gwynn, a great governor of Nevada. You want to talk about somebody who treated everybody with respect, and he was a Republican. Shocker. I'm just kidding. Kenny Gwynn was a great governor, and Blake is with Keller Williams Group. He's been living in Vegas his whole life. So if you're thinking of buying or selling a home, will you please give him a call, 702-540-3311. Again, that number, 702-540-3311. All right, if you're just joining us, you missed a lot. But we're joined in studio by Miles, and I'm going to Bradish Lynk. Am I
Berdash.
Berdash. See, I knew I would screw that up.
That's okay.
Miles Berdash Lynk, also known as Sister Aura. He dresses in drag at times. He is an openly gay man who's married, and I would call him a victim. He was the victim last week of a group of alt-right fringe people who were there for one reason and one reason only, to verbally assault him, calling him names like a pedophile, indoctrinating our kids when this man has never been in trouble with the law his entire life. There was a mini physical altercation. The video went viral. One of the ladies in this video is named Mindy Robinson. She is the girlfriend of Randy Couture. She is a far-right crazy person who sadly has a following on social media. They went chest to chest and bumped first for a moment. It was actually quite funny, but it's not funny, the verbal assault that this man had to deal with and many others that are there. So that's why we have Miles in studio. Miles, why do you think that there's a percentage of people on the far right that will call somebody like you a pedophile without knowing anything about your history other than the fact that you might be gay? Why do you think there is a percentage of people in society that assume that somehow you molest children because you're gay?
God, if I knew the answer to that, we would all I don't know that we would be even having this conversation. I have no idea where any of that's come from. I think because they know that it'll get attention.
Yeah.
And they can't just say, "Hey, we don't agree with what you're doing," because who's going to listen to that? Well, so what? We don't agree with everything you do either. But
Right.
once you say anything about, children, just like with the book banning and all of that, it's like if you just said, "Hey, we want to ban books," everybody'd be like, "Hell no."
Right.
But when but they're showing this and this and this to children, then suddenly parents are like, "Oh, well, hold on, let me rethink that."
Sure.
So I think that children are just a scapegoat. Like it's they have no proof, because if they looked at statistics, they would see that, heterosexual white men are usually are a higher percentage of pedophiles in the country.
I agree.
And
Miles,
priests, and hello, if you
I
were
agree
really
with you.
worried about priests,
Sure.
or if you were really worried about pedophilia, why do you even send your kids to church?
I could not agree with you more.
And I'm not saying that all priests.
And when you're a drag queen,
very small number of priests,
right?
but
A very small number of those in the church have done bad things to children,
Exactly.
but I don't hear them calling that out. And I still have yet to find one example of a child that has been harmed
by a
from drag queen reading.
Right.
It's this thing that they make up out of thin air. Guess what? Parents have the right to take their kids to drag queen reading, and there's a far difference between drag queen reading and a drag queen show, say at a bar. But people want to correlate the two. I look at drag queens as performers. Now, there's different types of performances. There are some performances that are 18 and over or 21 and over. And there are other drag queen performances, like a drag queen reading, which are very appropriate, that are, in my opinion, that are not sexualized. But I look at a drag queen as someone who puts on makeup, could be a clown, or could be, whatever. You're all a performance entertainer, right? Do I have that right? Is that what you would consider a drag queen?
Yeah. I think
you're a performer. You're an entertainer,
done
right?
For performance purposes, yeah.
Right. I mean, and that's what I think. What I don't want to see, and listen, people have the right to peacefully protest. I would never take that right away from them. But, however, I have the right to call out bad people.
Mm-hmm.
I have the right to call out people that I think have hatred in their veins. Example, if I'm driving in an area where there's a gay pride parade, the first thing that comes to my mind, oh, that's cool. And I'll probably keep driving because I have somewhere to go, right? If I have a gay friend that says, hey, will you do me a favor? I'd love you to come to this. No problem. I'd go. I'm not homophobic. But I feel like there's a percentage of people in society, maybe it's their religion, or maybe it's the way they were raised, or maybe they have hatred in their vein. I don't know. But there's a percentage of people in society that believe that if somebody is gay, without knowing anything else about them, that automatically they're a sinner. I would imagine you've gotten that, right? Like, what do you? How do you talk to those kind of people, and what do you say to them?
Well, I don't usually, unless they, bring it up, like happened in the parking lot at the nunnery. And I would only correct like what you. I think it's such a small percentage. I really do believe that it's.
Can I ask you a question then, if that's how you think? A large percentage of those in the Republican Party today, if you ask them, are you okay with two men getting married or two women getting married? Most people, when I say most, I'd say more than 50% would say no. They don't believe in gay marriage.
50% of 33%.
Right. But that's still a large part of the country, though, isn't it? I mean, that's still, when you talk, let's just say it's 20%. That's one in, or what my math would say 1 in 5 people. I'm not a mathematician, but that's still too many people.
It is. Any amount is too many, but I think that the reason this is all coming up, because the LGBT and the trans community, I mean, we're just getting battled from all sides right now. And I think it's because they know that climate's changing. And I don't know, I think about this a lot, and it's like, if you're doing all of this because you're starting to think that you're going to become irrelevant, you probably already are.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to what I always say, insecurities.
Right. I mean, when Utah bans the Bible out of schools because of their own law, that climate's changing somewhere.
And listen, Miles, I'm not a psychologist, but I'm gonna throw this at you. I'm not gonna say who it is. Some people listening might know who I'm talking about, but there's a guy I know Nice guy. Cooks me dinner sometimes, and we watch games together. Nice guy. He is obsessed with the issues of transgenderism, transgenders, transgender surgery, people who are gay. He's like obsessed with it, right? And I have conversations with him, and I ask him, I say, what happened to you? Something happened to you when you were a child. You had to have something traumatic happen to you to have this sort of hatred for a certain group of people. And I suspect that's what's happened. And I feel like with some people, something happened to them in their life. And maybe with others, that's not the case. And they're just you have a hatred towards a group. But it's like, I just feel like with some people, they have issues in their life and they have their own issues that they need to deal with. And they try to portray that on others, right? Does that make sense?
Well, I think we live in a society, and I don't even know if this is just in the US. I think people in general have oh my God, if I wouldn't do that, why should I allow you to? Like, it's like, that's kind of our whole point. It's like, okay, if you don't believe in, gender re-identification, don't get your gender re-identified. Like,
I agree.
We're not asking you to get it. Nobody's asking you to do this.
Of course not. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? A lot of people on the far right say the government shouldn't be involved in this. My body, my choice. And I say, you know what? I agree with you. So why don't you stay out of people's lives when it comes to abortion? Why don't you stay out of people's lives when it comes to sexuality? And then they freeze up. It's like, I remember I was at a Raiders game.
Oh, actually, that reminds me. So one of the things that guy said to me because I told him that they weren't reading that book that he thought to kids. And he goes, I would bet both of my testicles that they are. And I said, well, you would lose that fight, but the government wouldn't let you just take them off anyway.
Right. That's very true. Again, you have nothing to do with what books are on any shelf anywhere. You're not indoctrinating any kids. Drag queens are not indoctrinating kids. Teachers, there's over...
Some of us have kids.
Exactly. And there's over 300,000 teachers across the country. Out of those 300,000 teachers, are there a few teachers out there that are probably doing some inappropriate things? Sure, I want those teachers to be fired, right? But the overwhelming majority of teachers are not indoctrinating children. There's nothing wrong with saying it's okay to be gay. There's nothing wrong with saying it's okay to be transgender. Nobody's forcing you to do anything. The message that the drag queen reading that I met you at, the only message I heard was, be who you are, be happy who you are, and treat everybody with respect. Jeez,
and
what a horrible thing to say.
And let everybody else be who they are, too.
Right.
Like my shirt.
Yes,
you do you.
You do you. I love that shirt, by the way. And it's unfortunate that there are people out there that want to interfere in other people's lives. It's unfortunate.
It's so weird that I think it's like a whole control thing. Like, we have such little control of things in our lives.
That's what I think religion is.
Right. We have
Religion
such
is
little
about
control that
control.
when something comes along that we're like, oh, this I can control.
Yeah.
Even though you can't, because, trans aren't new. Like, there's been people across.
It's not new. It's just more people, I think, are more comfortable in being who they are now.
Well, it's because other people evolve.
Accepting. It's a little bit more
it wasn't
accepting now.
accepted when I was younger.
Right.
Now it's becoming more.
Would you have dressed in drag 30 or 40 years ago?
I did dress in drag
30 or 40 years ago.
Every year since I was probably 4, I went out as Halloween as a girl.
But why is it that you never wanted to make the change to be transgender? It was just a personal choice?
I've thought about it.
You did think about it.
And I think you and I had this conversation when I was on as Aura. I think if I would have been born in this era, I probably would.
Interesting.
But oh my God, we fought to make sure people didn't want attention brought to us when I was in school.
What would be your message right now if you had the opportunity to talk to Mindy Robinson? What would you say to her?
Why? Like, why do you go on and do this despicable stuff when you yourself said you don't even believe it? Why would you want to get national attention for something that you don't even believe in? That seems counterproductive because there's probably a lot of things. You were saying that her husband says that she's really good at, what did he say? Like, she's good at
she's
organizing,
hard worker.
Hard worker.
Yeah.
Like, there's probably things she's authentically good at that she could get a lot of attention on. I never knew who she was before that day. So everybody else did that was there. And I had no idea who she was on that day. And then when you texted me, was like, was this you? I was like, oh my God. Like,
Well,
how many people know this woman?
she's a grifter. I don't know what she does for a job these days. I know she's been in some of those Skinamax movies back in the day. I couldn't name you a title. I could think of what those titles might have been, but I don't know. Her boyfriend is a very famous fighter, UFC former fighter, really nice guy. Randy Couture's a really nice guy. I don't know what she's like behind closed doors when the camera's on or she's not on social media. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's really unfortunate because we're all human beings. We all have a different plight in life, and it shouldn't matter what your sexuality is or just let people live their
Why are we trying
lives.
to control everybody so much? Like, if it's not for you, don't do it. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't understand what it's about, maybe it's not for you. If you like, I don't know. It's just, I mean, if we were talking about pedophilia, no, I don't believe that all pedophiles should just be allowed to do what they want.
Of course
what they
not.
want to
I mean,
do.
if you're a pedophile,
Right.
but I think the alt-right likes to throw the word pedophile around
to everything.
To everything. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a perfect example of that. Being a pedophile is one of the most disgusting things you
her
can do in
cohort,
society. Yeah.
Matt Gates.
Yeah. Yeah, we know the Venmo stuff. Yeah,
we know the
Matt Gaetz stuff.
17-year-old
Yeah,
that he transported across lines.
It's really, they use that word when, and they just throw it out there, and they'll complain that Democrats throw out the word racist too much. But when you call somebody a pedophile,
and where did pizza come in? Remember the whole pedophile
Pizzagate
ring and
stuff.
the pizza?
Yeah, there were again another.
I do like pizza.
I love pizza too.
I had pizza right before I came. So.
But the right-wing conspiracy that Hillary Clinton was a part of a Pizzagate scandal.
Can you
and
imagine
because
Hillary
of that,
Clinton
and
making
because of that, somebody died. Some crazy person showed up at that place with a gun. Right-wing conspiracy theories can be very dangerous. They can be very hurtful.
I will say, and I can't believe that I have this view now. It's not all Republicans either.
No, it's not.
It's such a
It's not.
small percent. And now I've actually learned that, good Republican, bad Republican. Like, because I used to just think they were all.
Yeah, they're not all like that. But when I use right-wing fringe, that the far right of the Republican Party has turned into a conspiracy.
Trump changed all of that.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, who would have thought I would endorse Bush?
The far right conspiracy part of the party has turned into, that's what they are. They're the Alex Jones party on the extreme far right. It's very unfortunate. Listen, if you think the earth is flat, you can go ahead and you can believe that, because I don't think it's necessarily going to hurt anybody.
Nope.
But when you claim that drag queen reading is indoctrinating our kids and kids are being abused and molested, not only is that a lie, but is defamation and very hurtful to people like you and people that are drag queens or the LGBT community. And it's one thing to have an opinion on something, but we're entitled to our own opinions, but we're not entitled to our own facts. Okay, stop it with the nonsense of calling people pedophiles when you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. And if you really care about sexual assault, then why would you support the man who's sexually liable of rape in Donald Trump? They are hypocrites. And it's I talk about hypocrisy on the right every single day on this show. Every single day I talk about hypocrisy.
Well, if it goes away, then what are we going to do?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's true.
What would you talk about?
Yeah, probably the real issues, to answer your question, facing this country, like healthcare, raising minimum wage, maternity leave. How do we get people off welfare and food stamps?
How do we cure
get
child hunger?
Cancer, gun control. I mean, these are really important topics that I think most Americans care about and want to talk about. But instead, the far right fringe of the Republican Party want you to talk about drag queens and drag queen reading and critical race theory and how bad undocumented immigrants are in this country. They want you to talk about all those issues, but they don't want to talk about the real issues. Why? Because they don't have any solutions. Have you watched the last two Republican debates? They have no solutions to any of the real issues facing this country. You can disagree with Democrats. You can disagree with some of their solutions. What solutions do Republicans have? Donald Trump ran on, I know I'm going to rant here, but Donald Trump ran
It's your
on,
show. Go.
we're going to build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it.
Yeah.
He built 16% of the wall and Mexico didn't pay for it. He also ran on, we're going to lock Hillary Clinton up. He didn't hire anybody to investigate her. She wasn't indicted. She didn't go to jail. So these people out there that want to say that Donald Trump, I love his policies. He failed policies. He ran on two policies that were failures. I mean, and that's That's what I try to tell people that are still Donald Trump supporters. Not that I'm a huge Joe Biden fan either, because I'm not. But it's maddening. I want you to tell me a
But
little
I don't
bit.
think those two. This was my problem with when it was Trump and Clinton, where people would say, "Oh, the lesser of two evils." No, they're not both evil. They're not both evil. One's evil. One you may not like, but she's not evil.
Well, I made a mistake, obviously, in 2016 because I didn't vote for either, and I made a mistake. I would take that back in a heartbeat, and I would vote for Hillary Clinton, not because I'm just such a huge fan of hers, but she absolutely would have been a better president than Donald Trump. We wouldn't have had a January 6th insurrection. She would have handled COVID much better. There's a lot of things that would have been different in this country. She's not perfect, but I think she would have been a better president. There's no question about that. Before we go, we only got a couple more minutes here. Tell me about these shirts you got that you brought in studio.
Because of people like Taliban Barbie, I started this T-shirt company for people to wear their inside voice on their outside, so the bitches in the back can see. And it's called queerspeak.store. And I've got the whole series of You Do You and all of the flags, like lesbian flag, gay flag.
And when you see a shirt like that, what does that represent to you? What would be your definition of like a gay pride flag or a shirt like that says "You do you"?
You do you. Like,
just be who you are and be happy who you are, right?
Be happy who you are. Be proud of who you are.
Yeah.
Show
And I'm asking you that because I had a lady sitting in your seat a few weeks ago who was very ignorant, who said the gay pride flag represented a sex act, which I'm not going to repeat, which is absurd, right?
It's absurd. So, and there could be many reasons why she thought that, but because they do have a hanky hole code that is
they
very,
do.
Yeah. So that maybe she's combining the two stories. I don't know, but and then so here's another one of my favorites, straight acting, and then it's crossed out and it says gay for real. And I like my trans kids right here. So I've got a female presenting.
There are so many far-right Republicans out there that hate shirts like this.
And it says vagina. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's none of your fucking business.
Watch language. No swearing.
Well, that's what it says on the shirt.
I got you.
And then because I grew up playing with them so much, I did a whole series of paper dolls.
Oh.
So
I like it.
Yeah. Loved paper dolls as a kid.
I like it. And where could you find those shirts? How can
so
you?
It's called queerspeak.store, not
Queer,
.com. It's queerspeak.store.
.store.
You could also look on Facebook. Just put in Queerspeak Store.
Gotcha.
And also on Instagram. I don't have everything on Instagram yet, but I'm getting there.
Well, you know what? If you have any of these right-wing fringe people that show up at anything,
they've already started sending me hateful things.
Please text me and tell me, and I will gladly show up and start recording. If there's any more chest bumps, I definitely want to be there to see it. These people need to be called out for their hatred and bigotry.
Oh, and I brought you something.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I brought you something. It says, "Does this cup make me look gay?" And
I got to show it to everybody. All right, here we go. Look at that. Thank you.
I'm gonna also one of the cups that I've done.
Justin, does this cup make me look gay? It does. Oh, he said yes. Okay, I don't know. I actually like. Well, thank you. That's very nice of you. I appreciate that.
Is it the cup or is it the shirt?
It might be a little bit of both. I don't know. It might be a little. For the record, I did dress in drag for Halloween. This is probably like 10 years ago.
Well, you're one up on my husband.
I did.
He refuses to.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I dressed in drag, and I had a friend of mine Halloween that wasn't feeling good. He drank too much, so I'm holding his arm, and we're walking into the men's room. And I'm going into the men's room without getting a little bit too graphic. And he's not feeling well. And then I pull up my skirt to go pee. And then a couple of people.
Is that not liberating?
It was. And then a couple of people said, "Honey, I think you're in the wrong restroom." And I just started laughing. But it was all in good fun. But it was kind of funny.
There's nothing more powerful than standing at a urinal.
With a dress. Yeah, exactly. But that's another thing.
And then seeing guys come in and go.
Exactly.
Think they're in the wrong.
And that's another thing.
I'm at a urinal.
Another thing people are obsessed with. I go in there and I do my business and I leave and I don't care who's in there. I go in there and I do my business and I'm telling you, man, people on the far right, they don't understand. Most of Americans don't care about these issues. It's irrelevant. It doesn't affect their lives. They care about the real issues like the economy, like inflation, minimum wage, healthcare. I mean, these are the things that most reasonable Americans care about, not transgenders or indoctrinating our kids. But anyway, that's why Republicans are losing the popular vote pretty much every election.
And I think that's why this is all.
I agree. Well, Miles, I do appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
Pleasure.
inviting me back.
Absolutely, anytime.
I think we're going to be longtime friends.
Absolutely.
I will come on anytime.
I appreciate that. And if I can find somebody that is respectful that disagrees with you, then and I will find somebody that will do that, hopefully. I would like you two to have a nice little debate on this show because I think it's a good conversation.
Would love that.
And you'll be welcome back anytime. Miles, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Everybody, that is a wrap. Tomorrow, in-studio guest, we will be having Rabbi Yavitz Vine joining me in studio. Why? Obviously, to talk about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict and get his thoughts on this. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We appreciate it. And we will see you tomorrow, same time, same place.